I built and launched AutoRankMe.ai, an AI-powered SEO tool, in less than 8 hours and got my first users within the first 24 hours for just $3.50 a user. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to do the exact same thing without any technical experience needed. Hi, my name is JB. My businesses have generated over $17 million in the last 5 years, including 2 multi-million-dollar exits. I scaled my last agency over 2,000% in just 14 months. I lived and breathed SaaS and marketing, and I built AutoRankMe with 0 developers and no outside funding. I used to build businesses with raised capital, hire a dev team, and launch with a whole sales department. But I was burnt out, frustrated, and had no time until I realized something after my last business. Simplicity and passion will win every single time. I shifted my entire business strategy using my love for marketing and past experience to build, launch, and monetize SaaS apps way faster. Hopefully this inspires you to do the same. Before we jump in, here's a couple key secrets most people forget about. Number 1, you don't need to know how to code. Platforms like Lovable and Cursor let you build entire SaaS apps with a simple prompt in just a few hours. Number 2, you don't need to be a marketing expert to get users. Most people rush to charge users and end up with churn, bugs, and a bad rap. But more importantly, their cost per user skyrockets. I used a simple meta ad to get my first 100 users for just $3.50 a piece, and I'm going to show you exactly how. Number 3, you don't need a coach or a course. I've owned a software company for over 10 years, but I never once learned how to code. When I started building my own SaaS apps like AutoRankMe.ai, I used ChatGPT as my coach whenever I got stuck, just pasting in whatever issue I was having at the time. Let's go ahead and dive in. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I want to show you really quickly AutoRankMe.ai, the SEO software, a SaaS system that I had built. It initially took me about 4 hours. So I've added quite a bit of edits to it, perfected a lot of different areas, added more features and everything after the initial build. But essentially it will do automatic keyword research based on your niche, based on your business information. And then you can choose how difficult the keywords. And then it will do research on those keywords and find topics, different content opportunities, what articles come up for other competitors, and use those to actually write and distribute articles autopilot based on your settings, how often you want articles and everything, what your frequency is, and auto distribute those to your website through either webhook or other integrations. So I know I have a couple UI issues I got to fix here, but you can integrate into Wix, Squarespace, Webflow, all of that stuff. And so really an awesome, really simple platform focused on one single feature, which is SEO and GEO content. The first day of launching ads, I actually tested 2 different ads. First one I tested, I got 1 user for $10.48. And then the second thing I tested, I got 13 users at $3.48 a piece. I'm going to show you those ads so you know exactly how to replicate this model and get dirt cheap users in the beginning to test out your product and then go from there to monetizing it. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. So what I want to do is pick what you're going to actually build. And I always recommend picking a personal problem, something you understand, care about. Maybe it's something your customers have faced in the past or something, an issue that you actually care about because you're going to build a much better product if that's the case. The other thing I recommend is picking one core functionality and feature to start with. AI has gotten leagues and bounds better than what it was, and even in the past couple months with Claude Sonnet 4, AI is able to just start to finish build the entire thing for you. What it's not great at doing is mixing and matching multiple complex functionalities. So if you have multiple goals in this software, it's probably better to just stick with one for now, get it launched, get it perfected, and then try and build in from there. And so start with a core feature or benefit based on a problem that you understand and for a person or a group of people that you care about and understand, so that would be considered your niche. So the first thing that I do is I take this prompt and I slap it into ChatGPT, having it do some deep market research for me based on the feature or idea that I have specific for the niche. And so go ahead and ChatGPT and make sure you're in deep research as well. And then the second thing that I do after it's finished with the research, I ask it to take that deep research and put it into a spec doc with a summary, feature outline that I originally outlined, and then suggested features that contribute to that core feature. And then of course, all of the tech stack. So I use React, Superbase, Vercel, GitHub, Anthropic, Mailgun, Stripe, and then any other third-party APIs that would contribute to the features that are being added to the platform. And then of course I ask it to design the client onboarding flow, the entire email nurturing, and the feedback widget in the bottom right corner. Optionally, you can ask it to also create you an outline for a front end website to be built as well. That talks about the features and everything. I typically like to do my websites in Webflow because I have a little bit more control. But if you want AI to do that, it's really easy to just slap that in here and have Cursor do it for you. And so I went ahead and put those prompts in right before I started recording. So the first prompt was asking for a SaaS product that offers SEO and GE audits for websites and to business owners and everything. And so it did deep research, found me what's the best email flow, what's the best additional feature ideas, what are public facing APIs that I can use. Then I asked it to go ahead and create the spec doc that I was talking about, and it spit this out. So if you're going to go ahead and use these prompts, which again I'll link to in the description, then go ahead and start that and we can start setting up your platforms. So the first thing I want to say before we get started on the software setup is I am not a security expert. I would highly recommend, if you're going to launch this to live users, going and hiring a security expert off Fiverr or something just to check, make sure that there's no exposed API keys or anything like that. Cursor has a habit of keeping the API keys if you give it to them, so I would not recommend putting the API keys inside of your chat anywhere. You will have what's called an environment file that I'll help you put together that's specific to your, that has your API keys and all your security stuff in there. And so I would highly recommend the added security of just hiring somebody to do a quick audit. The platform that I use specifically to do vibe coding or to develop SaaS product quickly is Cursor, is because there are a lot of products like Lovable, and there's a lot of different products that'll build you an app really fast. My biggest complaint with them is it might be good initially, and sometimes it just builds out the UI, and then you have to, force it to build out that functionality and actually like go with it and see it through. But even after, there's a lot of bugs around adding additional functionality, and there's bugs in Cursor, or not in Cursor, but when you use Cursor too, you're going to face bugs. The difference is Cursor is going to be a lot more flexible in fixing those and future scalability stuff. So I would recommend Cursor. You can use it without being a developer. I know it looks scary because there's code on it, but go ahead and download Cursor and set up an account. The next thing you're going to do is you're actually going to create a GitHub account. So GitHub is where your code is hosted, or contained, and from there you will push it over to Vercel, which we'll talk about in a second, and create a repo. So right after you create the account, go ahead and create a repo. I'm going to go ahead and say demo 1 here and create a repository. A repository is the repository of your code, so where all that code is going to sit, and it's not going to deploy it to an actual website. So that's what Vercel is for. So go ahead inside of Vercel, create your Vercel account. There are other options in Vercel, but I really like it. It's simple, it's clean. The next platform you're going to need, and I'll talk about how to set up Vercel here in a second, but is Supabase. So Supabase is great. It's it's like a cloud database that you can use, so you don't need any server-side databases and everything. So it's very, very clean, and you're going to want to start a new project inside of Supabase. I'm going to say demo 1. The password is really important. You got to keep it. So what I would do is copy it immediately, create the project, and then I'm going to go ahead and add this to my notes here so that we can use it later. So I'm going to say my Supabase pass. Okay, so that's my database password. The other thing you're going to need to grab is your non-public key right here, your project keys, a non-public and service role. You're going to need those a little bit later. So a non and service. So that gives your code a little bit more control over the database. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the project. So we're going to click demo 1. It's setting up, so we got to give it a second here actually. So let's go back to first. I'll explain this. So once we build some code and we push code to GitHub, it will be in your repository, and we're going to pair Vercel with that GitHub repository. So we're going to click add new project, and I'm going to go here and I'm going to find the repo. You should only probably have one, and I'm going to click import. Now there's no code, so I'm not going to deploy it yet, so we'll hold off on that until we get Cursor actually building. So let's go back here. Okay, so it went ahead and it finished it. I'm going to click connect, and what you do is you go ahead and grab this direct connection, add it to your notes here, and it's already got, or no it doesn't, sorry, my password, your password here. So grab the password you had earlier, slap it in there, and that is going to be your Postgres connection, and I'll show you exactly exactly where to put that here in a few minutes, but get rid of that. And I'm going to go here, and I no longer need this open, but I'm going to keep it open so I can show you a few other things here in a few minutes. So let's go back to ChatGPT. This is awesome. This is, really explained. It's fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and grab it. I'm going to grab the whole thing. Now I'm going to go to Cursor. The first thing, actually, before I paste this in, I'm going to open a project. I'm going to go ahead and create a project. I'm going to say demo 1, open, and that creates a new project here. So what I'm actually going to have it connect to what's called an MCP server, which is your connecting to Supabase first. So I'm going to grab this and here, and I'm going to say, please help me connect my MCP server service to Supabase using this string. I will, and this is important, I will add all environment, EMV is just short for environment variables for anon and service keys to Vercel EMV file when we push. Then paste in your Postgres, and we're going to go enter that, and it's going to go ahead and start setting up the MCP server for us. That means your code base now will be connected to a database, and Cursor will have access to connecting or adding tables to your database, like user tables and things like that, while it's doing this. All right, so it went ahead and set up Supabase and connected our project ID and everything to it. So that's great. Now we're going to go ahead and set up GitHub access. So what you're going to do is inside of your GitHub account here, you're going to click your profile photo, go down to settings, and under settings, developer settings at the bottom, personal access tokens, fine grained token. Go ahead and generate a new token. Let's go ahead and use my password here and name it. I'll name it Cursor app. Give it an expiration. So this one expires in 30 days. You can do no expiration if you want. It's probably better security, obviously, to do lower amount of time. So we're going to go ahead and generate the token, generate token, go ahead and copy it. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our repo, and we're going to paste in the access token and the SSH here, the SSH URL here. So we're going to say connect MCP to GitHub with this PAT. To this repo. All right, so it's going to go ahead and set that up for us. Bro, my iPad's about to die. Would you go grab it's like a phone charger, just a USB-C. You can just grab the white USB-C cord because I'll plug it into my laptop. All right, so went ahead and finished the GitHub MCP server so that we can push directly from Cursor to GitHub. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set up Anthropic. You're going to want to go to your Anthropic dashboard and grab after you've set up your account, grab an API key, and we're going to go ahead and just create a demo key here, and you're going to grab that, and then you're going to go back into Cursor, go to Cursor settings, the gear up here, and then models and API keys, and go ahead and enter your Anthropic key down here. And like I said, I always like using Claude Sonnet. It does phenomenal work. It's more expensive, but it does great work. So once you have that key copied and inside of Cursor, then everything is set up and ready to go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to ChatGPT. We're going to pull our spec doc that it created for us, and we're going to post in here and ask, well, first real quick, I'm going to make sure that it's using React like I asked it to. Okay, React. The other thing is it's going to use, I'm going to check and see what other APIs, third-party APIs it's asking for. So data and APIs, it's asking for page speed, insights, validation, Google Maps, GeoNames, Google Business Profile. Okay, so mostly Google, so it'll require a Google project, which is fine. That's a great thing to pull there. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it and say, please begin building this software. I'm going to say this SaaS software based on this spec sheet. Paste in the spec sheet, and we're going to let it code. All right, so let's get your first 100 users. So this is the ad that I used, obviously very simple. It uses a very simple model of a negative belief, something that you believe that's wrong. And in this case, SEO is dead. And then I say AI-driven GEO is here. So it's reframing the belief that there's a new solution and you need to go ahead and take advantage of that solution. And then a dream outcome, which is automate your SEO, GEO, and do any work. work, make it very simple. And then I have a GIF of the actual product and just a real quick walkthrough. I sped the GIF up and everything, made it really short. And then this is the secret sauce. So the way that I got my first 100 users is I actually gave away access for free for feedback. And you might say, well, anybody can get 100 users for free. And that's true in a lot of ways, but this model works freaking fantastic. So when you give away something, instead of saying free, when it's in exchange for feedback, it becomes a exclusive thing. It becomes a status signal more than it is a free product. Free products suck. People equate free to trash. So by saying, hey, you're going to get this for life, and then on the website I explain a little bit more about for their feedback, founding users get free lifetime access, all of this. That model is working like a charm right now. So I got my first 100 users within the first week for dirt cheap. That really sets your pixel up to target the right people. That sets up your product, all of that. Like I showed you earlier, I got the first 13 for $3.48. I tested a bunch of different ads over the last week or so, and I ended up getting 81 total users for this one ad at $3.83 a piece. I was kind of testing some targeting things that didn't work out as well and brought my average up a little bit, but not by much. You'll notice I tested a few other ones. One was $20 a user and one was $10 a user. Both of these ads were free usage instead of free in exchange for your feedback. And again, it's very important to make this feel like an exclusive thing for this to work. And so you don't have to start with 100. You can start with maybe 20 free users or whatever, but it is really, really important that you start with the expectation that they're going to give you the feedback. You don't know what you don't know. You haven't tested every piece of the software. And even if you did, you haven't used it on every sort of different laptop. Best thing you can do is give free access. And for $3 a user, it's a gold mine. It creates loyal followers. It creates loyal customers who then you can upsell in the future for something else. So from there, what I did is I actually added in on my onboarding, I added in an early access step. So after the first 100 users, I went ahead and added in an early access pricing tier, which allowed the users to get a first free month and then 50% off. And I added this to the end of my setup. So after they got set up, they went ahead and they initiated their Stripe trial and stuff. I got my first 2 paid users the day I launched this, and I've been optimizing it ever since. And so it was 1 in 4 users that actually signed up for the paid version. And now I'm trying to optimize that down to, sorry, it was 1 in 5. And now I'm trying to optimize that down into 1 in 3 so that it costs me about $9 or $10 for every paid user that will end up paying $47 minus their 50% off. And so that's the way that I'm going to scale this. You know, go ahead and click that subscribe button if you want to follow along with that story and get an update on the exact marketing model. Maybe I'll do a video a little bit deeper dive into the marketing. But number one, make sure that you're going to set up your pixel. You have to set up your pixel for ads to work well. I would not recommend just the Instagram ads. You really need the ads manager because you need the pixel tracking to find the right people. So inside of your ads manager, go to events manager here, and it's going to load your data set. So your data set is your pixel. It may ask you to create a pixel if you haven't already, manage integrations, add to website, install code manually, and you're going to get that code that you're going to put into Cursor and an event code as well. So you can go through their add event code walkthrough. I'm not going to go super detailed into setting up your Facebook ads and your data sets, not in this video anyway. I would ask ChatGPT exactly how to set up a pixel and it will help you walk through that. The one thing I will say is your event code, once it gives it to you, you need to add that event code to the page right after registration. So, and be very specific with Cursor. Say, hey, as soon as a user registers, trigger this code, and only after they register. So don't trigger it on any other page in the app. And that way Facebook is tracking that action, that registration action. And we will go to Vercel. You don't actually have a code base deployed on Vercel yet, and it's successfully pushed to GitHub. So now there should be code. If we give it just a second, there we go. Now our code repository is clean and inside of GitHub. We're going to go back to Vercel and we're going to go ahead and deploy. And what this is going to do is give us a front end. Oh, okay. So now we're going to go to Vercel so that we can actually deploy the GitHub code, but we need to add the environmental variables here. So we'll go ahead and grab these. We need to grab them all, and we will go ahead and change it here in just a second, but we're going to grab it all back to Vercel, slap it in there. Now there's
there's a lot of these we don't have, so we're going to leave them blank for now just so that it exists. We're going to click deploy. All right, so after pasting in those variables, we're going to go ahead and click deploy. So it says my project name already exists. Let's go ahead and just give it a new name. Deploying. So it gave me an error on the Google PageSpeed API key, so I'm going to slap that in here and see what it says. Okay, so Cursor went ahead and says it fixed the deployment issues. Deployment issues are pretty common, especially when you first start deploying your app to Vercel. So it's going ahead and finishing it up and pushing it to Git. So we're going to try and deploy again here and see what it does for us. Right now, so we'll give it a couple seconds and let's go ahead and start building. There we go, and let it build. Now, the cool thing is in the future, since it's connected to your Git, every time that Cursor is going to push something, it'll queue up a new build, and you can push that build to production. So I can go to the actual platform here, and once it has a successful build, you can go ahead and promote to production, and that will keep it on the URL. So right now, you're going to actually get a Vercel URL here, just kind of the vercel.app. In the project settings, you can actually add your own domain here and map your domain so it deploys it. For example, mine deploys to app.autorankme.ai. All right, so there we go. We got a build that succeeded here. So we're going to go ahead and click it. Boom. The app is now live. Now I do not have Google Keys in there, so it's probably not going to work here, but you get the idea. The full functionality is inside of it. Pretty exciting, pretty fast build, and you can go ahead and ask Cursor to make those edits and push those edits out to Git for you. A couple things on Vercel you're going to want to know is if you have additional variables that you need to add, like let's say you add a new API or something like that, then you go into settings and then environmental variables and you can add it in here or edit the other ones. You'll remember I did not actually add my keys here, so you just click here and click edit and you can go ahead and add them at any point. When you go to deployments, you can see the list of all the deployments that have been made, and let's say you want to go back to a certain deployment, you can promote one to production and that will put the older code on the live URL. Let's say you promoted one on accident and it was broken or something like that, or there's a bug. All right, well, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I know there's a lot of missing gaps here. Use ChatGPT to fill in as many as possible. That's how I learned. A lot of this was just asking ChatGPT. The best thing that you can possibly do is have screenshot and go into your console. So just a pro tip, you can go to your app, right click, click inspect, and then go to console and screenshot any of the errors that it's seeing there, and Cursor will actually fix those errors for you. So screenshots and copying error codes and stuff is going to be your best tool that you can possibly use.